Hi my loves, so today I'm going to be giving you guys my base routine. This is what I typically wear on a day-to-day. This is step by step all it takes to get this look. This is like my more like in detail, in depth, not skipping a step makeup routine. I'm going to be talking about the products that I use, the brushes that I use to accomplish certain looks, why I do certain things the way I do, you know, different techniques with how I blend and everything like that. I feel like on a daily basis there are ways that I can like cut corners and achieve the same look but with less steps. But if I really have time on my hands and I want to make sure that my makeup is going to photograph well, especially if it's at night where, you know, flash will snitch on you, I feel like these are the steps that I take to accomplish like a nice full face of makeup. But yeah, stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoy. So once my skin is nice and clean, I've done my skincare routine and then my skin prep for my makeup. The very first thing that I always do is my eyebrows. I feel like all of the steps in my makeup routine, out of all of them, my brows take the longest to do. I then go in with foundation. So I like to start off with a nice, clear, and even base, just so that all of my discoloration is taken care of. We're working with like a nice and even canvas basically. I do want you guys to pay attention to, before I put any makeup on, how the center of my face is a lot lighter than say like the perimeter, my forehead and stuff like that. So that's where highlighting and contour comes into play. Me putting my foundation on my face is just gonna even everything out, but I do want to bring that back. I do want to bring the highlighted parts of my face back. My nose, my center of my forehead, my cheeks, like the high points of my face here, the tip of my chin, and then contouring. I want to bring the definition back to my face. So right now I'm just going to go into the very first step, which is my foundation routine. I use the Studio Fix Fluid Foundation and a 170 brush from MAC. So the Studio Fix Fluid Foundation, it's a 24-hour matte foundation. It has oil control to it as well. They recently reformulated it. It now has a little bit of skincare in there, and it's no longer just a matte finishing foundation, it's a soft matte, so it's not as drying if anything, but it does have that nice like soft mattifying finish. The application that I use is like a stamping motion. I don't drag, I don't rub into my face, I stamp it into my face, so much so that my brush is like literally on a side. But I only use like 2 pumps of foundation, and then I press it into my skin. And initially I like to start off in the center of my face because I feel like that's where it needs the most amount of coverage, and then I work it out from there. I blend out the areas that haven't been touched as yet, and then I just continue to press the foundation into my face. The shade also is the NC50, Neutral Cool 50. With MAC, NC means neutral cool, which means that I pull more yellow golden undertones. If you pay attention, the best way I like to describe like MAC's NC and WNC is like, you can see here I pull more yellow golden, and then on the back side it turns a little bit richer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the back part of my arm matches the color of my general face. I definitely pull more like yellow than I do red, so that's why my foundation undertone is neutral cool, and then the shade is 50. I feel like a good range for me is like, if not NC50, NC47, and if I were to be more warm, like if I get a little bit more darker complected, then like a NW43, NW45. I haven't been anything darker than that in a long time. I feel like when I was a teenager and I used to be like back home in St. Lucia for my summertime, being on the beach often, girl, I could have been like a NW60 at that point. But Yeah, right now NC50. So I use my foundation, 2 pumps. I go all over my face. The remaining, I then put it on my forehead. And then I go in with my cream contour. With my cream contour, I do a big, we call it the big three. It's your forehead, your cheekbones, and your jawline. So I'm just gonna go on a side with my forehead. I'm gonna hug my cheekbones, going a little bit higher than the natural contour that I have to my face, because naturally when I start to blend it out, it is gonna phase a little bit lower and a little bit higher. So in comparison to applying it here, and as it blends, it kind of goes a little bit lower on my cheekbones to be nice and defined. So I'm gonna go a little bit higher. And then lastly, just a little bit on my jawline. I'm not necessarily going all in, because when I start to blend, it's gonna blend out this way, it's gonna blend out that way, just based off of the amount of product that I have. I like to apply my cream first. I'm kind of doing like a dragging, tapping motion with my brush. And this is the Sephora Pro Foundation 47 brush. I love it for foundation, but I love it even more to cream contour, just because that slant that it has, and like that flat, fluffy slant that it has, it really hugs my cheekbones really nicely. And if it's good for my cheekbones, then it's good for my forehead and my jawline as well. So I'm just pressing it into my skin. I'm not rubbing anything. I'm not here. I kind of want it to be a little bit more sheer, but here I want a lot more coverage. So the more you press a product into your skin, you're building up the coverage. And then when you rub it out, you're shearing it out. So me doing an in-between right now, I kind of want it to be defined, but also well blended into my skin. So I'm kind of doing both. I'm pressing it into the area where I want it to be the most pigmented, and then dragging it out to where I want it to be sheer. So yeah, so that is the difference between this side, and this side. What's remaining on the brush, I then like to go into the inner socket of my eye and the outer portion of my eyes, just to have that nice contoured look, and then contoured in here as well. And then after that, I kind of run it on my eyelid a little bit, and then I'm just gonna do the other side. So again, just doing my big three. I'm gonna blend the cream. I'm gonna like almost like rub it into my skin on my forehead, because I want it to be more sheer. The remaining, I'm like passing on the other side. I'm gonna press the product into my cheeks, because that's where I want it to be the most pigmented, right? And then I'm gonna kind of press but rub at the same time my jaw, because yes, I want it to be defined, but I don't want it to be too defined to where it's not blending in with my foundation and my neck. So pressing that into my cheeks, and then the remaining I'm just gonna run on the inner corner of my eye, the outer portion of my eye, and the remaining I'm just gonna rub it onto my eyelid a little bit, just to contour my eyes. Now after this step, I then go in with a cream blush. I have a lot of options, but as of late I've been gravitating more towards the Made by Mitchell curve case. The colors are so pretty. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. Maybe I'll go in with this color on the outer half of my cheeks, and then a lighter color on the beginning portion of my cheeks. So I'm gonna first place this color on the outer half, kind of bringing it up a little bit, and then the lighter color I'll then put on the beginning half of my cheeks. And notice how I'm applying it right here and a little bit higher. I like for my cheeks to be a little bit more lifted versus like that pretty like dolly kind of look in the apples of the cheek, like in this area. I don't know. I don't know. When I do my blush, I like it to be lifted. When I do it on my clients too, I feel like I replicate the exact same thing. I just like it to be nice and lifted. It's just so pretty. It photographs beautifully. Like, why not? And then now I'm using the lighter color on the apples of my cheeks. And not necessarily all the way in, but just enough to kind of have it flow really nicely. So now that my cream blush is applied, I'm then gonna go in with my concealer. I've been loving the Pro Longwear concealer on myself a lot lately. I use these in my makeup kit when I do makeup on others, and I've forgotten how much I loved it on myself. I made a switch to the 24-hour smooth wear concealer by MAC. I think just because like it has an applicator, it's super easy for you to just unwind and then use the applicator in the areas that you need it. The Pro Longwear is truly for, I feel like it was truly made for makeup artists so that you're able to pump and mix colors and do what you need to, similar to what I'm about to do right now. I'm going to use the NC45, which is a few shades lighter than my complexion, but not light enough to highlight, like truly highlight. I'm going to use NC45 and NC42. Again, sticking to the neutral, cool undertone where I want it to pull more yellow, more golden to brighten my eyes. Now that I have those two pumped on the back of my hand, I'm just going to mix the two together and then apply it in the areas that I want to highlight. So first, I'm going to just pick it up. I'm not necessarily picking up all of the concealer and putting it on my face. I'm kind of going to feed it into my brush to pick up the product. I'm going to start off right on the sides of my nose. Bring it up, but avoiding the area where the crease is underneath my eyes. So I'm first just going to apply it on the sides of my nose. Right here, and then to hug around my nose. And then I'm gonna apply a little bit on the outer part of my eyes too. Gonna do the same on the other side, around the sides of my nose, avoiding directly underneath my eyes. And notice I'm just picking up the product gradually. And then a little bit on the outer corner of my eye. Then I'm gonna do on my chin, a little bit in the center of my forehead. And then I'm gonna take the brush that I used to contour my face, and I'm literally just gonna messily rub it on my nose. This is the easiest way for you to contour your nose. I recommend using a cream contour, rub it all over your nose, and then you're gonna go in with your concealer right on the bridge. I'm not gonna take it to the tip of my nose because I kind of like that like rounded area that I naturally have. I'm not too big on concealing my nose because I like my nose. There's nothing too crazy of a difference that I want to have, but definitely I want to keep it nice and highlighted in the center of my face just to balance everything out, because again, naturally you obviously will be a lot lighter in the center of your face and then shadows will cast on the sides. So I'm just going to bring that back. And then I'm going to use my bestie, the Morphe Continuous Prep and Set Mist. I'm just going to spray my skin, rehydrate it, because this concealer in particular, it is a matte finishing concealer. It's not like your typical everyday concealer. I feel like nowadays everyone's making more like hydrating, creamy concealers. This Pro Longwear concealer is full coverage, but in order for it to be full coverage and stay that way, it needs to set. It needs to be a self-setting one so that you could really get the coverage and the grip on your skin. So I'm going to start off with the areas that I don't want to be too pigmented. I'm going to start blending that area first, and then the areas that I do want to be the most pigmented, I'm going to save for last. So I'm going to blend out my chin first, and I'm just pressing it in. And everything else, I'm going to start blending out the edges first, and then blending inward. So blending out the edges first means that I'm creating that gradient from the edges of the concealer into whatever was contoured or my foundation. I'm just going to blend that out first, because that typically is where it has the least amount of product too, so it's the easiest to blend out. And then the center is typically where we first applied, and that has the most amount of product. So then I'm going to press that into my skin. So where you want the most coverage, you're going to press. Where you want it to be nice and natural and more sheer, kind of rub out. Next, I'm going to do my nose, the bridge of my nose. Actually, I'm going to flip the brush to the tip. I'm just going to run it up and down, which is super easy for me. I'm just going to blend out that. And then now I'm going to start blending out the edges of the concealer. I'm starting off around my nose, and then I'm going to match it with the concealer that was applied on the outer portion of my eye. And remember how we did the cream, the remaining that was on the brush, the cream contour hair? I'm going to kind of create like a nice sharp line so that we can maintain that nice like snatched look. And I'm just blending the concealer out into the blush. So now that this is blended out, I'm gonna move on to the next side. I'm just blending out the edges first, tapping this into the skin a little bit more. I feel like I definitely applied more of the cream, more of the concealer on this side, so I'm low-key picking it up, and I'm gonna add it on the other side just to even everything out, so that one side isn't looking different from the other. I'm just gonna press that into the skin. And then now where I want the concealer to meet the outer corner, I'm then gonna, it's almost like I'm picking up product and I'm placing it. That's why I never understand taking a whole bunch of concealer underneath the eye, like in literal placement, putting it all here, putting it all here, and then blending it in. Truly, you're wasting a lot of product, because as you're blending, it's going to reach those areas anyways. So why not have used less product? You know what I mean? But yeah, so now I'm blending out the area that I want to be the most pigmented lastly. And this portion, I'm just pressing it into my skin. Literally just tapping it into my skin. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm then gonna take my foundation brush and I'm gonna blend out the edges of my concealer. So the edges of where I applied the concealer on my chin, my temples, to blend out a little bit more, the sides of my nose, and then my forehead. So now everything can marry each other. Next, because again, remember my concealer is a self-setting concealer, I'm going to start prepping my powders. I'm gonna go in with my powder puff and put some translucent powder on it first. Press it into the back of my hand so that I know for a fact everything is like evenly distributed on the powder puff, and exactly how this is blended nice and smooth, it's gonna be able to set my concealer as well. And then I'm gonna go in with a very light shade of concealer. I own 3 concealers. One is about my complexion, one is a little bit lighter to highlight, and then the next one is super light. I'm gonna go in with the lightest one and placing it right in my inner corner just to build up the coverage right there. And the smallest amount, not too much. I'm not gonna apply it here. This is perfectly fine how it is. I'm satisfied with how highlighted that is and everything, but I feel like that inner corner, I want it to be a little bit lighter. So I'm just gonna go in there, and remember, I already have my powder on my powder puff, so the moment that this is blended out, I'm gonna set it right away. The reason why is because in layering product, you're kind of giving the possibility of your makeup creasing to be a lot higher. So the fact that I went in with the concealer first, you can already see that it's creasing. So now, I'm just gonna blend out this color, and as soon as when I'm done, I'm gonna set it right away. Look at that. I'm gonna do the same thing, load up my powder on the powder puff, press it into the back of my hand so that I know everything is nice and evenly distributed on the powder puff. And then I'm gonna blend out the concealer. And the moment I done blending out the concealer, I'm gonna set it right away. I'm not even leaving any room for the concealer to crease. So now that my under eyes are set, I'm then gonna go in and set the other areas that were highlighted. So my chin and the center of my forehead. And then I'm gonna go in with a face powder that's a little bit, not even a little bit, a lot lighter than my complexion. I'm gonna go in with that underneath my eyes. So I'm gonna use a powder puff for this because I do want a good amount of coverage to show up. And I'm going to press it into my skin right in that inner part of my eye where I want it to be the most highlighted, and around my nose. So basically the areas where we initially applied the concealer is where I'm applying this powder. And then from there, I'm going to bake with a brightening powder. This one is Kunafa from Huda Beauty, and I love this stuff so much. It mattifies my skin a little too good sometimes, but it definitely does a good job at like mattifying my skin and locking in my concealer so that I don't crease. So now I'm just gonna lightly, very, very lightly press it into my skin in the areas that I definitely I want to be highlighted. I feel like the next time I won't get this color. I feel like I'll get Blondie, just to see what like a different undertone of baking and highlighting my skin would look like. Yeah, so now, and especially I am especially putting this on my forehead because it's just gonna further block my foundations and stuff into my skin. It's just gonna further lock my foundation and stuff into my skin and mattify it so that it doesn't get oily super fast. So now that that's done, the next thing left for me to do is set the remaining of my face with a face powder that's my complexion. So I'm gonna be applying this on the areas that aren't necessarily like baked. Things are gonna slowly start to blend out, but the areas that I want to be the most highlighted are definitely gonna have this powder on it still. So I'm using the Studio Fix powder plus foundation in the shade NW43. This is my complexion, so I'm gonna go in the areas that weren't set with powder with this powder. So my jawline, my cheeks, and my nose and forehead. So I'm just pressing this into my skin. This is why I'm never too shy with how much cream, blush, and contour that I apply, because I already know I'm gonna go in with my face powder to set everything, and it's almost gonna like lighten up the pigments that are on my face. So that's why it's safe for me to go in with it a lot heavier, like the cream blush and the cream contour, because I'm gonna go in with my face powder on top anyways, you know what I mean? The remaining, I'm just brushing it into my forehead. And then a little bit on my nose too. And once that's set, I'm also gonna drag it down my neck a little bit so that if I take pictures and stuff, everything is nice and cohesive, like down to my neck. And then now I'm gonna take a small fluffy brush. This is the Real Technique setting brush. I'm just gonna buff that off of my skin. Now I'm gonna go in with some setting spray just to melt everything into my skin so that everything looks like skin. And once all of that is set, I'm gonna go in with my bronzer, and I'm gonna replicate the exact same thing we did with the cream contour, the big three. So I'm gonna hug my cheekbones, my forehead, and my jawline. So it's like a big three. I'm then gonna use my face powder just to like tap in the edges of where I highlighted, and I used my Kunafa powder just to marry my face powder with those areas. And then after that, I'm gonna go in with my blush. As of late, I've been loving the color Fever and Burnt Pepper. I like to use Fever in the outer part of my cheeks and then Burnt Pepper in the beginning middle. So I'm gonna press Fever into the brush. I'm then gonna kind of like brush it off a little bit and then apply it to my face. I'm just using a pressing motion. This is just for the outer portion of my cheeks. And then raisin and then burnt pepper. I'm then going to... Is this burnt pepper or is this raisin? Who are you, friend? Who are you? Because I need to know. Are you burnt pepper or are you raisin? Raisin. Girl, the whole time it was raisin. Raisin and fever. So now I'm gonna go in with my raisin right on top of that and a little bit, right on top of that and a little bit below my eyes too. I love to take my blush under my eyes. It's so pretty. I feel like it brings a perfect amount of color and vibrance to my face. And it literally just completes my complexion look. After this, I then go in with my mascara under my eye, on just on my bottom lashes, obviously, because I have lash extensions, but I just go in with some bottom lash mascara. Depending on the day, I either go in with a nude eye pencil in my waterline or a brown one. I feel like I'll do the nude one. I'll do the nude one. I'll do nude today, I guess. I like to warm it up on my finger a little bit so that when I apply it, it goes on immediately with pigment. And I'm not overdoing it either, just like a light amount. I'm not even gonna lie, I am very proud of myself right now. My eyes always water when I do my makeup. Always. I don't know what the hell it is, but I think it's just me touching my face so much that my sinus just activates. But my eyes always, every single time I do my makeup, I always have to have tissue near because my eyes water, especially this eye, especially my left eye. But yeah, so now that my base is done, we can get into the lip. Now, depending on if I'm doing a matte lip, I'll then wipe off my lip mask that I've had on like since doing my skincare, my skin prep, and now like my makeup routine. If I'm doing a matte look, I'll wipe it off entirely. If I'm doing a glossy look, sometimes I'll keep it. Right now, I'm just gonna do a lip combo and I'll be right back. Alrighty, my love, so this is my base routine. All of the steps that it takes to accomplish this look. I'm definitely gonna have this lip combo on my Instagram. This is the typical base that I always do with or without eyeshadow. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys like. Yeah, get into it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was really fun to make. I'm always asked what is my base routine like, what are the steps or the products that I use, how do I do this, how do I do that. So I figured I'd just put it in a video, whether it's for my clients or anybody that is new and getting into makeup and just really wants to know the steps that it takes from me if you like the makeup that I do. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I love you guys so much. Enjoy. Bye.